It's Lambo time. Hello and welcome back to the weekly crypto review. This week has been interesting. It's been great. And I think anybody who's paying attention to prices on crypto, certainly Bitcoin, is quite happy with it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the charts. First off, just a basic overview. Most everything is up. Over the last week, Bitcoin's up almost 15%. Let's see here, Ethereum up almost 17%. We've got down here at, let's see here, hey, even Litecoin is up over 14.5%. Cardano, 17% in the last week. We're up above 10 cents again. Fantastic. I'm going to be doing a video on Cardano a little more in depth later next week. It's got some interesting things going on, but basically across the board, certainly over the last week, we have a lot more green than we have red, and a lot of them are big percentages. It's not 1 or 2%. It's 5, 10, 20%. So that's great. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Now I've got this chart set up so that we can see all the way back from the previous high to today, and I've set up a few new lines. Okay, we've gone up above this purple line, which was at 13.5 thereabouts, which was the next break point. That was the next point I expected resistance at. We've gone above that. What I'd like to see is this weekly candle close above the purple line, between the purple and the red. I don't think we're going to get above 16.2. 16.266, which is this level here, which is where the dead cat bounce ended at. That's the height of the dead cat bounce from the last bubble. I don't think we're going to, if we get there, I think we're going to bounce off of it. I don't think we're going to pass it at this point. We have gone up a massive amount in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and it's time to cool off. We don't want this kind of jump up. This is going to come this time next year. So I expect, and you can see it, we did similar things back here. And so I expect, and I'm really actually hoping for, a cool off period. I don't care if we go sideways. Okay, if we go sideways, that's fine. I don't want to see us jump up and suddenly get into blue sky territory, which is where this green line is. Currently, I've got the red line here at the top of the dead cat bounce. The yellow line is at the top of the peak of the close and open, where the peak of the market was, the peak of the bubble. And then the green line is where the very tip top, 19,986, which is where the bubble burst. So this is literally the last resistance that we can encounter due to prior price action. After the green line, it's all blue sky. We've got nothing to stop us. And so we're too early at this point. I know you don't want to hear that, but we are too early at this point to be breaking these numbers. So I fully expect that we're going to bounce off this red line here at 16,266, and we're going to spend some time here. I wouldn't mind if we bounce between the red line and the purple line. That's fine. And we could do that for a few weeks. Again, I don't expect, and I really hope we don't, break past all-time highs until next year, March or April. That's really what I'm looking for. Based on what has come before and how markets typically work, I think that would be healthy, and that's what we're looking for at this point, is a very healthy market. For the next year, we want a strong and healthy market, and jumping up to $20,000 right now, that's not healthy. That is an overextended market. We don't want that. That comes later. That comes at this time next year. So yeah, what are we looking for? Well, like I said, I'm looking for a bounce back. I'm really looking for us to bounce off this red line here and spend some time between the purple and the red. A few weeks. Honestly, I won't be surprised to see us actually drop down here as low as this yellow line at 11.5. I won't be surprised if we do that. People are going to panic if that happens. I know that's what's going to happen. Oh my God, we're losing value. Bitcoin's just gone into a tailspin. sell, 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 because that's the way dumb money acts. Okay. And at this point, we're starting to see some dumb money coming into crypto. And certainly over the next year, we're going to see a whole lot of that. It's okay. It really is. Even if we drop down to 11.5, we're fine. We're okay. It's not a problem. I have a renter who was asking me last night. She puts money in every month. She gets paid once a month, and she puts money into crypto once a month. And she's saying, I was telling her that we're up to 15.5. She's like, great. And she looks at me. She says, should I wait for it to come back down? And which is a fantastic question. This is a question you should be asking if you're putting money into the market. Should I buy now? Should I potentially FOMO in, or should I wait? Well, okay, the problem is, of course, that we don't know where the market's going to go. I fully expect, after what we're seeing here, after this kind of rise, I fully expect that we're going to see it drop down a little bit. Okay, but I don't have any proof, and I don't know when. And I certainly don't know where we're going to be at when we start dropping, assuming that we do. So those are all unknowns. Now the question becomes, okay, not knowing when or if we're going to drop in price, and who knows, let's say it goes up to $18,000, $17,000, and then starts to drop in price, and it only drops to $16,000. Well, if you could have bought at 15.5, you lost out on the opportunity, right? So what do? Well, the way I look at it is, and I'm going to put this in here because I have to. This is not financial advice of any kind. I'm simply looking at charts and telling you what I see, using my 30 years of experience in the financial industry to tell you, here's what I think is going to happen. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. But I fully expect that we're going to pull back, if not this week, probably next week. Again, I expect it. It's normal. It's healthy. It's fine. But let's assume it doesn't happen. Let's assume this continues going up because everybody's FOMOing into Bitcoin. Okay, what happens? The price continues up. Well, okay, if you are on the sidelines because you're waiting for the price to fall, and suddenly it gets to 16,000, 17,000, 18,000, and suddenly you're like, okay, it's not gonna drop. I need to put my money in. So inevitably, you put your money in at the very top, and it drops. And it drops 40%, 50%. That's the way the markets work. That is the seductive part of the markets, is they entice you in at the worst possible moment. Now, if you are dollar cost averaging, if you're putting money in the same amount on a regular basis, whether that's weekly, every 2 weeks, monthly, whatever, if you're doing that, if I was doing that, let me rephrase that. If I was doing that, I would just go ahead and put the money in. I wouldn't worry about the price because I know that over time, my average cost basis is going to be much lower than if I put large amounts of money in irregular times. That's the whole point of dollar cost averaging. So if I'm doing dollar cost averaging, I'm just going to put my money in. I'm not going to worry about what the price is. But really what it comes down to is, if you have money and you're not dollar cost averaging, you've got some money you want to put in because the market's going up, the question I would ask myself is, where do I expect Bitcoin to end up? Where do I think it's going to be at the peak of this bull run? Well, knowing what I know, having seen what I've seen, I believe, and I've told you many times, that we're going to end up $250,000. The number I have educatedly guessed, is that a real word, educatedly? The educated guess that I made is $257,000. That's where I think this is going to end up at. So based on that, if I believe that's the case, 15.5 is a steal, isn't it? So why wouldn't I put money in now? Again, this is me talking about what I do. What you do is up to you. You have to decide for yourself. You have to make those choices on your own, do your research, see what you find, and see if you agree or not. That's the whole point. I just simply give you some information, and you have to determine on your own whether or not this is for you. Now, Like I said, I'm looking at $257,000 Bitcoin at the peak. And I believe, again, an educated guess, the bear market after the pop, after the bubble pops, I think it's going to drop down. Bitcoin's going to drop down to a price of around $29,000. Again, if that's correct, and no one says it is, just an educated guess on my part, if that's correct, based on previous history, and you know what they say, history is no indication of future, previous history is no indication of future gains. But if it follows the pattern, roughly, and ends up back at, you know, the bottom at $29,000, again, if you buy in at 15.5, or if I buy in at 15.5, I'm going to be happy, because at no time does it come back down to put me in the red. So this is what I'm looking at as far as Bitcoin and its current price. So what do I think is going to happen? Well, for one, I'd like to see this candle close out between 13.5 and 16.250, 266. Between the purple and the red lines up there. And I think we have a really good chance of that happening. I expect to see that this week or next week's candle will bounce off that red line at 16,266, and we'll stay here for a bit. We may drop precipitously. We may have a week or two where the price drops. I don't believe we're going to go down below 11.5. We could, but I don't believe so. I'd like to see it stay above 13.5. I think that would be a good, healthy place to be. But if it drops down to 11.5, that again is not a problem. It simply reinforces my thesis that we're not going to get to blue sky pricing above $20,000 until April of next year, which is where I expect to see that, and where I think that's a healthy time to see that. So yeah, should you buy? I personally, if I was putting money in, I'm mostly invested at this point. So I don't have a whole lot of money to put into the market. But if I did, this wouldn't stop me from putting it in now. Anyway, that's what I've got for you this week. Remember, don't trust, verify. I'll talk to you later.